I've seen way too many people jump on a cheap drone, film a few shaky clips, and then feel that sting of regret when the footage looks more like a home video wobble than the cinematic shots they imagined. The cheap alternatives promise easy flying and instant Instagram-ready clips, but once you're out there with a gusty wind or low-light scene, those promises evaporate. So the question on everyone's mind is, does the DJI Mavic 4 Pro feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey toy that will end up gathering dust? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you first hear 100 megapixel Hasselblad camera, you might think, that's overkill for a drone. And that's a legitimate hesitation. Dropping a $2,500+ machine into the sky feels like a commitment you can't undo, especially if you're still learning how to pilot safely. The real test, though, is whether the hardware translates into usable, everyday benefits once you've gotten past the initial learning curve. In my experience, the Mavic 4 Pro bridges that gap better than any of its predecessors, but it's not without caveats. Let's start with how the drone feels in the hand and on the screen. The new 7-inch Jerk 2 controller is a game-changer for people who want a tablet-style view without lugging a separate phone. The screen is bright enough to read menus in full sunlight, and it swivels so you can keep it facing you even when you're flying sideways. That eliminates the "where's my phone" moment that plagues older models. The menu hierarchy is still DJI heavy, but they've trimmed a few layers. You can select a shooting mode, set exposure limits, and lock focus with a single tap. For a creator who's already juggling composition and storytelling, that reduction in friction matters. Autofocus confidence is where the Mavic 4 Pro starts to feel like a serious camera rather than a toy. The Hasselblad sensors phase detect pixels lock onto subjects in a split second, even when you're moving at 30 miles per hour. I tested it on a running dog in a park. The drone kept the focus locked as the animal darted across the field, delivering crisp 100 MP stills that you could actually crop without losing detail. That's a level of reliability you won't get from the cheap 12 MP sensors that often hunt and miss in dynamic scenes. Low light behavior is another area where the Mavic 4 Pro shows its premium pedigree. DJI advertises a 0.1 lux nightscape obstacle sensor, which means the drone can see and avoid obstacles in near darkness. In practice, I tried a dusk shoot in an urban canyon, and the camera's ISO handling stayed clean up to ISO 6400, delivering a 6K HDR video that retained shadow detail without the usual grain. The dual tele lenses, one at 24mm equivalent and another at 70mm, let you frame tighter shots without sacrificing stability, which is a huge advantage for real estate walkthroughs where you need that cinematic feel but can't get close to the property. Stabilization is handled by the 360 Infinity Gimbal, a mechanical marvel that can rotate a full circle without hitting a stop. What that looks like on the ground is a video that stays buttery smooth even when the wind pushes the drone sideways. I took a 10-minute coastline flyby with gusts reaching 15 miles per hour, and the footage stayed rocksteady, no noticeable roll or jitter. For content creators who need to splice footage into a longer narrative, that kind of consistency saves a ton of post-production time. Battery confidence is a common stumbling block for anyone who's ever tried to chase a sunset only to watch the timer blink red. The Mavic 4 Pro promises up to 51 minutes of flight, and in a real-world test I got 48 minutes before the drone suggested a return. That's enough to complete a full scouting run of a small property, capture a series of establishing shots, and still have a buffer for a return leg. Of course, the larger battery adds a few extra ounces, so the drone feels a bit heavier than the older Mavic 3, which could be a factor if you're traveling light or need to carry it on a hike. Long-range video transmission is another selling point. The O4 Plus system advertises 30 kilometers, 18.6 miles, of 10-bit HDR video feed, and while most users won't be flying that far due to regulations, the reliability within a typical 5 km radius is impressive. The live view on the controller stayed crisp, with almost no latency, which is crucial when you're tracking a moving subject and need to adjust framing on the fly. That reliability also means you can confidently fly in areas with intermittent Wi-Fi without worrying about a sudden signal drop. So, who should actually buy this drone? If you're a professional photographer or videographer who needs the flexibility to capture both ultra-high-resolution stills and cinema-grade video, the Mavic 4 Pro is a solid platform. Real estate agents, travel documentarians, and even small-scale filmmakers will appreciate the combination of 100MP detail, dual tele-lenses, and the long flight window. The drone also makes sense for hobbyists who have already invested in a solid drone skill set and are ready to step up from a 12MP, 4K machine to something that can compete in a commercial.